Today on CityCast Austin, it's the Friday News Roundup. I'm here today with KUT reporter Laura McGaughey and executive producer Eva Ruth Moravec. We're going to break down some of the latest headlines. We're going to talk about a big change to how the city supports Austin's creatives, some new reporting on what Elon Musk is up to in Central Texas, this roller coaster weather we're having, and some of our weekend picks. It's Friday, February 21st. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Eva Ruth.
Hey.
Hello, hello. Happy Friday.
How are we doing? Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
Pew, pew, pew.
Happy Friday. So there has been a lot this week. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into it. The first thing I want to talk about is something that made me extremely happy when I heard about it. So on Valentine's Day, Austin City Manager T.C. Broadnax announced a new Office of Arts, Culture, Music, and Entertainment to focus on sustaining and growing Austin's creative sector. Like streamlined coordination of all of the branches of our creative space.
Love
it's
it.
Yeah, right? It's supposed to provide a more cohesive and accessible experience for residents and visitors and amplify the reach and effectiveness of joint initiatives. Y'all, I'm really, really very, very excited about this. So before, the cultural affairs have been spread across 5 different departments that separately focus on music, special events, cultural centers, heritage centers, cultural arts, and art in public spaces. But none of those entities were talking to
What
each other.
a mess. That sounds terrible.
You know what? When I read about this, I was like almost surprised. But then I was like, you know what? Of course. Of course,
Yeah.
It was like all, yeah.
All over the place.
I love that it took TC to come in and be like, maybe you guys should be talking to each other. Maybe we should have a central umbrella that you guys can all work under. But it's cool. So KXN did a story, and according to the story they did, the state's art and cultural industry has helped generate over $7.3 billion for the Texas economy in the past 10 years. And it's grown 60%. And statewide, we have like about 1 million people that work in the creative sector. So that's not a small chunk. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a small group of people.
And 900,000 of them are in Austin.
Listen, that's what I'm saying.
It's got to be more than 1 million, you know? Someone doesn't want to admit to their dad that they're like basically doing an art degree now, you know?
That's what it is. Or somebody is like, well, no, I have a full-time job. This is my side gig. No, your side gig counts.
I'm in tech.
Yeah, your side gig counts. You are creative. Let's make sure. I was that person. People would ask me all the time, aren't you a musician? I'm like, no, I just sing on the weekends. Like, and be like, bitch, you're a musician. Like, why are we talking about semantics right now? But the idea is a combined or unified creative office will basically help the city focus on development and funding and other support/resources for the Austin's creative community, and maybe connect the industries in a way that's like mutually beneficial. So maybe get musicians into the film industry and stuff like that, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
So, but I like TC's quote because for me, it's subtle shade. I appreciate subtle shade. And so here's his quote. Austin's identity is closely tied to arts, culture, music, and entertainment. After months of engaging with numerous organizations and individuals who are dedicated to the success of Austin's creative community, it became clear to me that we needed to realign our resources to better support our cultural ecosystem. Under a unified office, we can improve how we provide services and create synergistic opportunities that attract tourists, generate revenue, and elevate Austin's profile as a cultural destination. Now, to me, what that says is, y'all are always saying that you're the live music capital of the world, but you're not. Mm-hmm. So how about we actually put our money where our mouth is and do some restructuring and organization and make that a reality? I love it.
Yeah.
To me, that means he sat in a bunch of rooms and a lot of people were like, everything sucks.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Y'all are doing this wrong.
Fix it. I want to know first, like off top, what you think about it and if you think it'll work. I'm curious what y'all think.
I'm a journalist, so I have no personal beliefs about anything ever. I am a automaton.
Completely neutral.
No
Completely
feelings.
neutral. I have no feelings and belief system. But I've always also been surprised by the live music capital thing because I used to live in Louisiana. And they have rundowns of shows on the radio that go on for 10 minutes because there's so many shows and a lot of them are free. And so, they struggle out there too with affordability and all that. But I feel like it's so much more wrapped up in their culture. And so here, I feel like it's a per capita thing, but I hear from musician friends all the time that you want Austin to be this creative place and have creative people and have great music venues and great musicians and great performers, but rent is $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. And so I'm curious, that's all to say. I'm curious to see how much of this new department is going to be focused internally on the community itself and making the city a better place for the community to live in, and how much of it is going to be more of an outward promotional. Yeah, come to Austin because we got great stuff, but maybe not as much of the attention where folks say it needs to be. So time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Eva Ruth?
I'm encouraged. I think a coordinated place makes sense with 5 different offices previously. It's at least now there's a place to go. There's some streamlining of resources and what we have. So I don't know. I get a little nervous about when things are consolidated that they're going to be oh, we have too many people doing this one thing. So are people going to, will there be some employment changes because of this? Yeah. I wonder. Which, I mean, it's not to say that there might be some waste or redundancy in all of that, but, that's just kind of what might happen as they go through the merging of it all. But it makes sense, I think, to have a unified place.
It makes sense. I mean, someone who's a musician is probably not just, and I don't want to say not just a musician, but having performing or arts or film all separate, it's what? A creative person is a creative person across platforms, right?
Yeah.
So
I think I like the idea of it because I think Austin is notorious for being siloed and just across all avenues, right? It's nobody knows what the other one is doing, and somehow everybody ends up fighting for what they think is the same pot of money. You know what I mean? It's just, I've got this thing and nobody else is doing this thing, and then across town somebody else is doing that exact thing. So I love the idea as a creative of having one place to go. I do love that because it has historically been difficult to figure out, okay, who do I talk to about this? What venue, what park, that has, as somebody that produces events, as someone that is it's been hard to figure that out. So I like that aspect. And I also think it's smart because when we start talking about grant funding and all of the changes people have had to make, taking DEI out of grants, blah, 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 blah. I feel like it'll bring a little bit of legitimacy. You know what I mean? It's oh no, we have an office and this office oversees. And so maybe stay away, I think it'll, hopefully, my hope is that it adds legitimacy and the state will leave us alone. It's kind of what my creative, naive heart is hoping.
A bigger unit.
Yeah. For our cultural grants, our Elevate grant, our Nexus grant, there was already these worries about, okay, we got to take out all of this DEI, inclusion, race, equity. We have to take all of that stuff out, right? I feel like we're magnified. Our grant shit is magnified because we're in Austin. So it's what is this? What's this equity stuff? But I do think that it might bring a little bit of legitimacy that'll take some of that scrutiny off of the way we spend our grant funding, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the hope. You know what I mean? All we can do is hope. But I love that TC is coming in hot. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of somebody I'm just a fan of somebody that comes up and picks something up and is okay, let's just shake this shit out and start over. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the chaos.
And we feel like we know him personally now also because we have an interview with him.
We recently interviewed him at City Hall and we talked about this. We talked about a bunch of stuff. That comes out on Monday.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. I'm extremely happy about it. What I'm not happy about is Elon Musk. Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they're handmade, high quality, and stylish. And they're comfortable right outside of the box. Now, I know we buy everything online these days, but trust me, you have to get fitted for some boots at Tecovas. Now, whether you're like me, a newbie to boots, or you have a closet full of them, the folks at Tecovas will help you find your next favorite pair. So, grab a friend, head on over to the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of you that live just a little further north. With 3 locations in town, you have no excuses. So, that's tecovas.com. TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Maybe get in better shape or eat healthier, save more money, travel somewhere new. What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm having such a good time learning Spanish on Babbel this year. I'm taking a trip to Mexico City in the spring, and Babbel is giving me the Spanish foundation that's going to make my trip so much better. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by more than 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or at whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in a new language, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. And one way they do that is with their own podcasts. I'm a podcast listener. I'm guessing since you're listening to this podcast, you are too. And I have been getting ready for my Mexico City trip by listening to Babbel's conversational podcasts. There's a short conversation you listen to, then an instructor talks you through what happened, and then you listen again, and then you catch everything when you listen that second time. There's also a great read-along transcript, too, which I love. The one I did today was with Maria and Carmela trying to make dinner plans, but Carmela is so busy. She's way too busy with work and yoga, but finally they agreed on brunch on Saturday. Studies from Yale, Michigan State, and other universities continue to prove that Babbel works. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. So let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You just said, I love the chaos. I love an outside disruptor coming in and shaking things up. I have to put you on this spot.
Except this guy. This guy. So, okay, Lauren, you have been reporting on a certain Austinite who, honestly, okay, I just think he gets way more attention than he should, period. Mm-hmm. I might be the only person, because apparently people are into hearing about him and reading the news. And so can you just tell us what you recently reported about out in Bastrop?
Yeah, I'm basically covering him full time now. And
Are you really? Are you seriously?
Yes.
Full time? Do you enjoy it?
I love learning something new.
Listen, I don't know who I got to talk to. That is a gross misuse of your time and energy. I don't know who I need to complain to, but I'm going to let you finish. Okay.
Let me talk to you about why this is important.
Convince us.
Let me tell you why this is important. Okay. So I think people have Elon Musk news fatigue right now because of Doge and everything that's happening in DC. And, you know, he's in the Oval Office and he's at Mar-a-Lago. It's like he's everywhere, right? It feels like he's everywhere. But there are only a few people here locally covering him closely and what his effect is going to be like. The heart of his business empire is being created here in the Austin area. But, you know, he's got this manufacturing facility for rockets in Waco. He's got the launch site down near Brownsville. I mean, like, the guy's tweeting about school vouchers. It's like, you may not want to pay attention to him, but you should. It's a little bit like broccoli. Like, I love broccoli, though, because I was raised by hippies. But anyway.
I love broccoli.
I love broccoli. Give me some. I want some broccoli right now.
Also a huge broccoli fan.
But my pitch is Elon Musk has a home somewhere in Austin. He has this massive gigafactory right on the outskirts of town, huge. I mean, it looks like the airport. It's so big. And then 30 minutes from there, not even 25 minutes, is this massive corporate compound, right in the next county where like people don't even know, like the boring company, his tunneling company, the headquarters is there. The headquarters for X is being built there. It's basically like the building looks like it's done. So that's going to open soon. He has a massive SpaceX manufacturing facility where he's building like a lot of the Starlink kits that are now going to be sent out all over the world. So the guy is and will more so this year, I think, be affecting our business climate, our environment, our politics. And I think we need more information about how he's doing that and how he may do that.
Why do we not know where Elon Musk lives?
Okay, from like a curiosity standpoint, a lot of this for me has just been like how to figure out stuff about him, because it feels like he's everywhere. It feels like he's ubiquitous, but he's only sharing the information with us that he wants to share, right? So much of the actual stuff, the actual info is like in private company reports or, off public databases or whatever. And so in terms of the house, this report came out, I'm sure everyone saw it, that he's like building this compound for him and potentially multiples of his ex-lovers and their kids somewhere in Austin, and that there were some details in there. I have heard rumors about where it is and what part of town it might be in. Those haven't borne out for me in terms of looking at property records. And that's what I dug into, right? I was like, I'm going to look at property records. I made a big, long spreadsheet of all of the people involved in like buying properties for him, or like the people's names who are actually on the LLC or the LLC.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find...
Because he's not just buying things in Elon Musk's name.
He's not, it's not like Elon Musk owns, his name is on the deed. It's like Gapped Bass LLC, which is literally one of his things. So it's really difficult to find information about him because it might be like 3 steps deep in the record. And you have to recognize the name of the guy or the LLC, and then you might have to dig a little bit further. And if you don't know those things, then you might just go sail right by the information.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting.
I will say this. I'm glad that there is someone dedicated to keeping an eye on him. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that is important. I think when you don't keep an eye on people like him, that's how things happen. And we look up and we're like, wait a minute, what? What do you mean? Right? Like, I think there's importance in keeping an eye and making sure people are educated and making sure people know what's going on and making sure people ask questions. I think that's what makes journalism so fun and so special. And so I'm glad that there are journalists that do that.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Like I can go to your reports and you'd be like, okay, great. Okay. Yep. Still being a terrible white man. Got it. Copy that. But it's like, for me, he's extremely powerful now on a federal level, despite no one electing him. Yes, we need to know what he's doing, but then I feel like the more we feed into him, the more power he has over our local government and our state government, and that is what makes me uneasy. And I don't just have Elon Musk fatigue. I have powerful, rich white man fatigue in general. And so every time I see this man's name, I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, here we go again. Mm-hmm. But to your point, I knew that Boring was in Bastrop. I didn't know he was moving X to Bastrop. I didn't know that he had this whole compound with his ex. I didn't know any of that stuff. You need to make sure that people are in the know, because there's a lot of people like me that are just like, I don't want to know. Mm-hmm. I don't want to know. But then when we find out, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, that's what we exist for. We can keep tabs on things so that you can consume it at the rate that
it's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Do either of you think that he is going to eventually have influence on our local government?
Yes.
I do. So here's the thing. It's been kind of confusing to me. I covered the legislature for 10 years, and I haven't heard a ton about him leaning on people in the legislature. I think, one, they'd probably do what he wants them to do without him asking anyway. So there's a little bit of that. But I also think, his thing is move fast and break things, right? Like, he doesn't go through the channels you're supposed to go through. He's not going to get the permit. He's not going to ask the permission. He's just going to do the thing. And if someone notices and he gets into trouble, he'll pay a fine maybe. And so if someone has that mentality, they may not necessarily feel like they need to go through those traditional power centers at the local and state level because they're just going to do it anyway. One of the reasons he's in Bastrop County, in unincorporated Bastrop County, and not in the city of Austin or in the city of Bastrop, is because there are very few ways for county officials to stop development. He has more carte blanche to do what he wants to do. It wouldn't make sense for him to like come into Austin and try to open some glittering thing in Austin, because then he'd be subject to all of the oversight of like the city council and all that. So,
but where are all those employees of X going to live? Like, is Bastrop just going to go crazy gangbusters? Development everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like modern day Columbusing. It's just like, this is mine now. Thank you so much. That's what it is. I think, and I also think that my hesitancy is just, it's like, it's naive, right? I admit that. It's like, it just seems so cliche.
It seems too obvious.
There's nothing special about him. He is another incredibly rich person that's like, I don't have to play by the rules. I can just pay a fine. I can just do this. There's nothing special about that. There's nothing interesting about that. There's nothing new about that. The only difference is that he has more money than everyone else. And so it's like the things that he can do and are doing are on such a huge scale. You know, I'm just like, so what does my knowing, what does it do other than it just means I know? So I'm torn. Yeah,
I get it. You know, the big unanswered question for me is like when I think people will start feeling like, okay, this is why this information matters to me, right? Like there's been some good reporting about the effects of especially his Tesla Gigafactory and his SpaceX facility out in Bastrop on the environment, you know, on the Colorado River, right? And there's been some good reporting, but the reporting, in my opinion, hasn't followed through to what does that mean for the water supply of the people living downstream of him. And so that's my intention, is to like be building up this beat, to be building up these sources where people feel like, okay, she's covering him consistently. She's covering him in a way that's fair. I can reach out to her and be like, I have this record. I know about this dumping. I know about this issue. And that's the information that over time I hope to provide to people in Austin where they're like, this is the information I need to know.
Yeah, I love your approach to it, though. I love the approach of the environment because I think that that's the only time people are going to give a shit, if we're being honest. Like, if there's someone you can be like, okay, this is happening and this is happening, and so now your water looks like this. Or this is happening and this is happening. And I think that's the only kind of knowledge that will then give us an opportunity to do something.
And you could see it, whether it's like the water is changing colors or it's gone or there's puddle, whatever. Yeah.
Something that keep in mind, I'm working on the story about Tesla and Tesla drivers who feel a kind of way right now, right? They still love Tesla as a car. They are even interested in the concepts like getting Starlink kits to people who live in rural areas who don't have broadband, you know, or like this Neuralink brain chip implantation, you know. I think it's like the difficulty here for a lot of people who consider themselves liberal and like bought a Tesla because they are concerned about the environment and saw all of these things a few years ago as like positives. Now Elon Musk is out as a political figure courting the very opposite viewpoints to what they bought into his products for. And I think there's this cognitive dissonance that is very difficult for folks that like were supportive of him. And I think the questions that are being raised around that are the ends justifying the means questions. You know, Tesla, EVs, climate change, got it. But what about environmental violations at the Tesla factory? Is that, you know, are people just going to argue, well, that's a drop in the bucket when the end goal of not having gas-powered vehicles is the more just goal. So it's put me in a lot of conversations that have been really interesting and kind of unexpected, I would say.
Well, I, will be curious to see how it all shakes out. I'm glad someone else is doing it so that I can just read it when I want to and I can be in the know and I can know what's happening, but I don't have to engage or give him as little attention as I possibly can. But I'm glad you're doing it because I do think that, one, it matters coming from someone that I know. But if it's coming from you, then I'm way more I'm much more likely to read it and engage and
Thank you.
Get the knowledge.
Everyone should be like Nikki. Everyone should read me.
Yeah, everybody should be like me. But I am sorry that you have to spend your time doing that, even if I'm sure you love it. Speaking of spending your time, we're going to move into our
good pivot.
Woohoo! How we want to be spending our time.
So here's the thing. This weekend, the weather is going to be a little bit better than it's been this week. The weather's been all over the place this week. And, in my opinion, it needs to make up its mind. We had temperatures in the teens and the 20s. It might rain a little bit, but then it's supposed to be sunny and 70 next week. We are definitely in our Texas can't make up its mind pace. We had our little false spring a couple of weeks ago. We have hopefully our last freeze, and now Texas is we'll let you know.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
A little bit of that. Wednesday, they had something called snow needles, as Avery Tomasco described them. I'm like, it looked like shredded coconut or fingernail clippings. I was like, okay, so now Texas is just pulling stuff out of their butt and just throwing it into the air.
We're making up new snowy things.
Yeah. And so it's supposed to not be freezing today, but then it's Saturday's rain might be freezing rain. Regardless, there's a lot going on this weekend. I'm going to be out and about, watch the weather. I'm over it. I don't know. Are y'all over the winter?
I'm trying to remember that in a few months I will want this.
Yes.
No.
Yep.
No. Even when it's 115, 2 days ago, whenever it was, all that wind was hitting me in the face, I was like, I would rather 115 degrees than this biting cold. I just hate it. I hate it so much.
No, I will agree with you there. I hate being cold. I will take the sun and the heat all day. I cannot take being cold for longer than 10 minutes. I can't handle it. I get violently angry. But my winter clothes are cute.
I know.
I'm not going to mind this weekend when I'm out and about having a little cute outfit on. My little winter outfits.
Nice.
So, I don't know. What are y'all getting into this weekend? I got off subject.
You are right on subject, Nikki. I have a lot of plans and a lot of recommendations. So tonight, the San Antonio Spurs are going to be playing the last of their 2 games here at the Moody Center. So they've been in town and they're playing the Detroit Pistons. So if anybody's looking for an NBA game to go to. And then one thing I really wish I was doing tonight is going to see Sarah Sherman. I don't know if y'all know her, but she's one of the SNL cast members currently. She's so funny. She's the one with the really short hair, and she's always wearing the balding caps.
Yes, I love her. Do
She's
you know
so
that
funny.
she's one of the hosts of this show called Man vs. Hamster?
What?
And it's a reality, it's like an obstacle course, and the hamster does it first on a tiny obstacle course, and then a human does it on a life-size obstacle course. You try to beat the hamster's time. It's amazing.
That's
sounds
awesome.
Crazy, but it's amazing, and she's one of the hosts. I love her.
Of course she is. She's so quirky. She's so funny. So she's actually performing at the Creek in the Cave downtown, which is, it used to be Barracuda. It's on 7th Street. I also did not know this place existed, which I've been living under a rock, but it's a comedy club that was in New York and closed and moved down here during the pandemic. But yeah, Sarah Sherman's going to be there. Saturday, there's a big rally at the Capitol. So school vouchers, the bills are swirling. One has already been passed out of the Senate, and the House is considering their version. And there's a big Save Texas Schools statewide rally at the Capitol. So these are going to be people coming in from all over the state. They're expecting thousands to support public schools. So against the vouchers, and that's going to start at 11 a.m. So just a note, if you're out and about downtown, that's going to be a big thing down at the Capitol. And there's also an Austin FC game this weekend. They're starting their new season versus Kansas City. They've got a new coach. Those games are fun. I would recommend them if you haven't gone and can get out there. That's what's on my very long list of recommendations. What do you guys have?
It's a lot of good stuff.
I have to match Nikki. Usually she's got like an entire scroll of things happening.
Hey, I'm an extrovert.
She just needs to show off her winter outfit a couple of times.
I gotta show off my little. I gotta get my little winter outfit on a couple of eyes. So this is how we gotta do it. So tonight, Shea Butter Baby's production of Salvation is happening at Busy Signal at 7 p.m. There's sliding scale tickets, and Shea Butter Babies is like an all-black performance troupe. There'll be music, there'll be performance art, there'll be burlesque. And so that's what I'm doing tonight. Saturday, I will be at a wedding. But some things that I wish I could be at is the Black Makers Market at VUCA from 12 to 4. It's like 30 Black makers. And so it's kind of like a last chance to celebrate Black History Month by supporting Black businesses. Go buy some stuff.
Nice.
Shop around. Y'all know I love myself a market. Saturday night is Body Rock ATX's 15th anniversary. And that is huge. You know, it's Riders Against the Storm and Chorizo Funk, but they have DJ Jazzy Jeff joining them. Yeah,
that insane.
That DJ
that's a draw.
Jazzy Jeff. Yeah, DJ Jazzy Jeff is going to be joining Body Rock ATX for their 15th anniversary. It's going to be insanity. I am so sad that I'm missing it. And it's going to be happening at Regal Rooms. And then Sunday is the last day of Outsider Fest. You know, Outsider Fest is dope. It's got some fantastic programming and some cool gay stuff you can get into and queer stuff.
And it's all about art, all different kinds of art, performance
all kinds
art.
of art. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they have everything laid out on their site. So that's the stuff that I'm looking at this weekend. Oh, and I have a friend's birthday. My friend Jared, he's like my brother. His birthday is this week. So I'm going to go hang out with him and his parents and his girlfriend.
Awesome.
So it's going to be very sweet. It's going to be
That
very
is
sweet.
really
so
sweet.
it's a light weekend. It's a light weekend for me. What about you, Lauren?
Okay, I got 4 things. So there is a KUTX mixer.
Yeah.
I have to plug public radio on Sunday afternoon. It's free at Austin Beer Works. And there's going to be like games, and you can meet KUT and KUTX personalities.
Ooh.
So that's a thing.
See if the face in your head actually matches the...
Exactly. Maybe Jerry Quijano will even be there. I remember the first time I met Jerry Quijano, I was like, it's Jerry Quijano. So that's Sunday. Also Sunday, there is an Austin Witches Market at Far Out Lounge. It's from 6 to 10, so it's a night market. And there's going to be like, you know, all the witchy shit. All the great witchy stuff.
Broomsticks.
Yeah, that's what you think of, even with this broomsticks.
Crystals and jewelry. Crystals and jewelry.
Jewelry, crystals, candles, tarot cards, girls in leather harnesses, boys in leather harnesses, they, thems in leather harnesses, all the stuff. So there's that. The night before, so this is Saturday night, tomorrow, there's Drag Me to the Tavern at Tiny Minotaur. If you don't know what Tiny Minotaur is, it is a tavern-themed bar where everyone that works there is in full costume all the time as, you know, an elf or an orc or whatever.
It's cute.
You can play games there. People go there and play like Magic and D&D and all that. But Saturday night, they're having a drag show called Drag Me to the Tavern, and it is a good time. I highly recommend it.
Nice.
And then the last thing is probably one of my favorite events in Austin. I try to go every month. It's Ladies' Night at Sahara Lounge. It's once a month. It's always on a Friday. It's today.
Yeah.
And ladies get in free. And we used to get like a free shot. I don't know if that's still a thing, but it's affordable. And if you haven't been to Sahara, it's like in a little old house, literally. So it feels like a house party. I'm telling you, this thing is the most all ages party you've ever been to. You'll see people that are like, okay, that person just turned 21. And then there are men and women like into their 70s and 80s. You'll see a lot of like old black Austin come out in their finery. It's all funk music, funk, disco.
Ooh.
And so people will be wearing really cool outfits, really cool wigs. And it's just the most mixed crowd you've ever seen. And everyone is just having a sweaty, dancey, fun time. So
Fun.
go to ladies' night. Go to any event at Sahara, but ladies' night is just, I love the funk DJ.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things in the city, too. It's great.
Nice.
But to your point, come to sweat. Come to sweat.
Wear your layers. Be ready to take them off.
Well, thank you for rounding up the news with me this week. This is awesome. Lauren, thank you for being here. We always love to see you.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm sure that we'll be having you back, especially when it comes to Musk.
And what he does next.
Unless Elon Musk goes away, y'all better have me back.
I'm going to start calling him Old Muskie.
Yeah, it's smelling musky around here for sure.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. And by the way, we are looking for a new podcast producer. Is it you? Look for the link to apply in our bio. Our executive producer is Eva Ruth Moravec. Our producers this week are Zoe Culkin and Adam Sage. I'm your host, Nikki Devon, and our Hey Austin newsletter editor is Kelsey Bradshaw. And music is by Nelson Valente Aguilar of Como Las Movies. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.